The National Prosecuting Authority has revealed plans to prosecute what it called 9 seminal cases arising out of the state capture report. It further divulged it plans to see those through the courts within the next 6 months. Adding the cases spoke to the heart of state capture. The authority's Shamila Batoy was presenting the NPA performance plan to the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. Joining us now for more details on the NPA's plans is NPA Investigative Directorate spokesperson Sindisiwe Seboka. Sindisiwe, good evening and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. Now, with the NPA having gone through the process of rebuilding, are you at a point where you are confident that this time around you will arrive at action? Actually, we will see cases being prosecuted, and what gives you that confidence?
So essentially, we're now entering the second phase of the rebuilding of the NPA. You would know that there have been about 20 cases enrolled by the NPA Investigating Directorate, more enrolled by the NPA in its totality in terms of corruption matters. But what you will also appreciate is that there have been significant strides that were put in place in order to lay the foundation, in order to be able to tackle these complex matters. The NPA has successfully gotten plus minus about 5 billion rand restrained, as well as preserved in terms of optimum coal mine, to state the very least. That is some of the groundwork that has been already done going into this next era, where we have committed to Parliament and to the nation at large that we will be dealing with a corruption more robustly.
Yeah. What has been the challenge of the NPAs in action up until this point? Because there was this feeling, I suppose, when 2016 the then public protector launched this investigation into state capture, and it began in earnest, that as some of the revelations were coming out in terms of testimony, the NPA would also be taking up those cases and investigating, and you should be quite far ahead now at this particular point.
It's an open secret that you know that law enforcement was hollowed out. The NPA was not spared in that. You'd also know that in terms of the startling revelations that were made at the State Capture Commission, law enforcement also, quote unquote, can be stated to have been captured. So there was also the mishandling of the law, if you were. Now, currently, the new NDPP, Shamila Batoy, when she took up office, she made it quite clear that the IPAC principles need to be prioritized, meaning that the NPA needs to be independent in how it tackles corruption, how it actually operates. So in terms of those principles, the rebuilding started, and you know, when you have to rebuild an institution that once was revered, once was something that people looked up to in the Scorpion days, it is a bit challenging. So what we can state now, to reassure South Africans, we've been doing this even as the matters were enrolled in the IG. The 20 cases were not easy matters. 1 billion restrained in terms of regiments linked to Transnet capture, another 3 billion in terms of optimum coal mine preserved, which is linked to the capture of Eskom and Transnet. And I can go on and on, the unlimited restraints for the Gupta brothers, linked to the Gupta brothers in terms of the company island site. So rebuilding of an institution like that, you need to look at what you have in your arsenal. And we had in the past, more particularly in the Investigating Directorate, focused on collaborative efforts. However, the asset forfeiture was in the lead in order to recoup as much as we possibly could. But entering this new era, we are focusing on criminal prosecutions, because you would know that there is an appetite from the public to see people in orange overalls.
Yeah. How are you dealing with the criticism that seeks to question your independence and integrity as the NPA, in a sense that, well, at least those that have been arrested are saying, well, you're going after us and you're being used by the president to fight with his opponents within his political party?
All we are using currently as the Investigating Directorate, as the NPA, as law enforcement, is basically following the evidence. We have heard those various rumors that we are politically charged to be looking at various persons, but you would know when the commission was also hearing various testimonies from various people that come to the fore, there was also the assumption that that particular commission of inquiry was quote unquote captured by another cabal. But what we're saying is that when you are in the forefront of dealing with corruption, you must anticipate that there will be all forms of campaigns to discredit and dent the institution. But you would know the NPA is the only institution tasked by the Constitution to be prosecuting matters. So we will not be deterred by sideshows. However, we're going to be following the evidence. We're so happy that there has been collaboration between us and the Commission. They've actually recommitted to being able to provide evidence to us timelessly. This means that while we are continuing with the investigations that we had started, about 82 declared, 20 cases in court, the other evidence that will require before the Commission concludes its work on the 15th of June, we will be able to get some more information from the amazing work that the Commission has been doing. But I must also caution, I think I need to put it out there and clarify that the Commission's role and what it was tasked to do is to answer whether state capture did in fact take place and to provide an hypothesis for us as law enforcement to see, does this correlate with the evidence that we're providing? And we then have to formulate cases beyond reasonable doubt, which is a heavier onus on us.
Yeah.
Right?
Talk to us then about two things. One, the 9 seminal cases. What is the process that has been undertaken to come to those 9, but also the timeline of 6 months being in court? How do you formulate that timeline? Is it just a number that the NPA estimates it will take to put these cases inside a courtroom?
I got the latter part of your question, Thabo, about the seminal cases. Could you please repeat it?
The seminal cases, so in as far as the process, the legal processes that you have undergone to determine that these are the so-called seminal cases that we plan to prosecute now, as revealed in the state capture report, but then again, the timeline of 6 months.
Okay. So the first part of the question, in terms of how we arrived at the 9 seminal cases, first and foremost, we looked at the capacity that we currently have. The second part is that we looked at the investigation list that we currently have, what cases are likely to be ready and set within the stipulated timeframe, what was already planned. And then in terms of the criteria, we also further consulted the various reports that have come from the Commission to see what correlates with what. But in the main focus or the main reason that we're able to commit that number of cases is looking at the evidence and the timeframes in which we'll be able to bring those matters before court. In terms of the criteria, it was also put into cognizance the various reports, the 4 reports that have come into the public domain.
All right. And what cases have you already enrolled that are already on our courts?
Before the seminal plans that were announced?
Before
okay.
Those ones.
So we've got 20 cases from the IED that have been enrolled, but of those 20, 11 are criminal matters and about 4 of them are asset forfeiture related matters. So of those matters, it's the 24.9 million Free State feasibility study case, which Iqbal Sharma and various other government officials are cited in. It's also the very first case where we were able to then send an Interpol request to get the 2 Gupta brothers to be red noticed. The red notices were issued in February this year and have been circulated to various countries which are signatories to Interpol. The second case that we're able to link arriving from that is the unlimited restraint order, which is back in court on Thursday and Friday this week for confirmation of the unlimited restraint. Unlimited basically means any amount that any asset you can find linked to island sites as well as Mulani investment and island site owned by the Gupta family you can attach. Another case that we've been able to enroll is the 1.4 billion Eskom restraints. This is in relation to Eskom Kusile 745 million linked to tubular construction. The criminal case is in court. The 1.4 billion has been restrained. The next matter that we're able to fulfill stemming from state capture, Busasa 1.8 billion, which former Correctional Services head Linda T is actually before the the Regional Court in Pretoria. It's now been transferred to the High Court. Angelo Agriti is a co-accused there, and two other matters that are in Palm Ridge, the Vincent Smith 800,000 matter, which is, we've now added tax charges, which has taken the total value to in the millions. The Angelo Agriti bribery matter as well in Palm Ridge, and I can go on. It's about 11 criminal cases, 2 from SARS also contributing to the 11, and 4 asset forfeiture. So about 15 cases stemming from Zondo that we've been able to enroll.
Now, let me quote what you're saying in your statement. You're saying the sharp end of our 6-month priority focus is the ID. What do you mean by that? So what should we be expecting coming from the NPA in the next 6 months?
The sharp end, sorry, there's been a network.
You're saying in the statement, the sharp end of our 6-month priority focus is the ID.
Okay, so you would know that the proclamation that brought the ID into existence speaks or cites on the third point, cites that the recommendations from the State Capture Commission or the focus evidence coming from the State Capture Commission need to be prioritized. So what that statement essentially means is that the NPA as the mother body will assist the ID in prioritizing the state capture matters, because that is part and parcel of why we were created, above and beyond the other commission work and other matters. So we will be spearheading the dealing with state capture matters.